Welcome to Putting It Together, the podcast that goes through the entire body of work of Stephen Sondheim, show by show and song by song. My name is Kyle Marshall, your self-described Sondheim expert. Yes, it has been a while since you have heard that intro, and for that I apologize. This whole season that encompasses Bounce and Roadshow with discussions of Wise Guys and Gold has just taken so much longer than I thought it was going to take initially. About 2 months longer than I initially thought due to some life events, some other things that became busy in my life, then scheduling all the recordings, recording them, and now I've started to edit them together. As you can see, we also have a really big guest for this inaugural episode, which is going to be very different than a normal episode, but for that I apologize. When I reached out to Richard Kind, I truly thought it was just going to be a hard no, or would just hear nothing back. But to my surprise, was eager to jump aboard this train and discuss the topic at hand, and to delve into Broadway and his relationship with Bounce and musical theater in general. So much so that he wanted to come back and actually talk a little bit more. I thought I'd be able to record that before this episode needed to come out. It doesn't. So it's kind of a weird ending, I will say, to this episode in particular. But hopefully we can arrange something so that there is a part 2 later on here in a few weeks. What I have discovered in both research and really delving into this show of listening to the bootleg version of Wise Guys, watching a bootleg version of Bounce, watching a professional recording of Roadshow, is that ultimately, just to spoil this all for everyone listening, is that there are elements of this show that I really love and that I respect and that I enjoy, but ultimately in no form do I think that it fully works. And I think really what this entire season is going to be about is trying to figure out why. Why is it that it just doesn't seem to fully work? Even the people who are the most enthusiastic about this show acknowledge this just was never embraced by people who love musical theater, but especially Sondheim fans. This really isn't anyone's favorite show. It might not be someone's least favorite show, but it's never anyone's favorite show. And there's just some elements that don't ever seem to work no matter what version it is that we are looking at. So I'm looking forward to delving into that with all of you who are listening. Thank you for your patience as I've put this all together. Pun absolutely intended. I do want to give a shout out to the people who have continued to support me over on our Patreon page. If that is something that you would like to do, which does help me, defray some of the costs of, hosting this show and editing this show and all the boring stuff that happens in the background, you can help out by going over to our Patreon page. Putting It Together is an independent podcast, so any bit of monetary support does go and help directly to this show specifically. You can do that by going over to patreon.com/puttingittogetherpodcast. I don't want to delay here too much, just that I'm so happy to be back. There is a planned 21 episodes to really, delve into these 2 shows specifically. I decided that I was only going to focus primarily on the 2 shows that had recordings of them, which is then Bounce and Roadshow, with elements I'll bring in from Wise Guys and from Gold, but because those were never fully produced versions of the show, I felt it was kind of weird to try and include songs that were eventually just cut. But as you'll find out in this weird show, is there's songs that we're in, we're out, we're in again, we're reworked, we're put into different places in the show. It's a whole Frankenstein monster, and I am very excited to go through it with each and every one of you. So, small musical interlude. It'll be my conversation with Richard Kind. So glad to be back as we delve into Bounce and Roadshow.
Come a long way, we've been through a lot, we've learned how to bounce. As Papa would say, you're hot then you're not, you better learn to bounce. If something goes wrong, that's alright, bounce along, just travel light. You go off the track, don't look back, that's the thing that counts.
Richard Kind, thank you so much for joining me here today.
You know it's my honor.
Okay, we always start here. So if you can take us back, when did you first discover Stephen Sondheim?
I was a kid who lived in Yardley, Pennsylvania, which was across the river from Trenton, New Jersey. And my parents would drop me off at Trenton train station at around 11 in the morning. I'd get into New York around 12:15. I would go to the TKTS booth, which had just been organized. And I remember seeing Company alone when I was a kid and not knowing what the hell it was about.
I was about to ask, like, that's a pretty dense show to go as a kid.
Yeah, I was 13 or 14 tops, and bought the half-price ticket and saw it. I had no idea, but I was floored by it. I remember Barbara Barry flipping. I think it was George Coe, whoever played her husband, but Barbara, who became a friend, and somebody I worked with, and I know her kids, and her husband gave me my equity card. So it's just crazy in my life how everything has come not just full circle, but has embraced me, circled. But Barbara is a friend. So I remember seeing Company, and I remember loving Stephen Sondheim, but not knowing who he was, and I probably wouldn't understand it. Then you find out, okay, West Side Story, do I love? Yes, I loved it, but I loved the movie, never saw it on stage. And I guess it just sort of evolved, and hearing that Sondheim, you couldn't hum his melodies coming up the aisle. Now, but I understood from talking to other composers and then reading about Sondheim is he never repeated himself. He never did lyrics over and over again like somebody like Jerry Herman would do or anything like that. So and now when you listen to his music, you go, well, there couldn't be any other note to follow what he's written.
This is like a recurring thing that keeps coming up here on the show, because again, that was the big criticism, and I just love the like not hummable tunes, and like I get what people are saying to a degree, but like I find it such sweeping, great music to just listen to. You know what I mean? Like,
no, of course, but not the first time.
Exactly. Yes.
I'm sorry. I don't believe that you did know the tune that he was singing. Or that he was composing, but mathematically, because his brain works, I think in that sort of way, it does. I think the scale, or whether I don't know the proper musical term, but the escalation within the music, you realize there's no other way. Even though when I was trying to learn this stuff, I mean, I found out the meaning of the word. It's difficult to learn. It's just difficult. It was, and I worked and worked. And by the time you get it, you just go, oh, well, there's no other note that could follow.
Right.
It's just obvious.
Was acting like your main thing? Like, was that what you always wanted to do?
Yes, it's what I always wanted to do, but I was never supposed to. Okay. It wasn't until after college, or I went to Northwestern, but I was pre-law. I was supposed to be a lawyer, and go into my dad's jewelry store. But one of the professors there said, try it for a year. And my dad's best friend said, try it for a year. And Frank Galati, I don't know whether you know that name.
No.
He was my professor, a very big guy with Steppenwolf. And he was wonderful, wonderful. And with the Goodman Theater in Chicago. And he was a professor at Northwestern. And he said, Hollywood's not looking for your type. But once you reach a certain age, you're going to work forever. And he was right.
Okay.
I sometimes talk about me in such loaded terms, fatuous. But he was right. I was lucky I got to work.
And I'm so curious then, because you have done a few musicals now are under your belt. Like, was that something that was like also?
I'm in St. Louis right now doing Hairspray.
Yeah, I'm excited. How much longer are you in St. Louis for?
No. It's 7 performances. That's it.
Gotcha. Okay.
3 more. Yeah.
You're going off on this year to see if you can make a go of it type of thing. Was musicals even in your purview at that point? It was like, I just want to be an actor.
I mean, I did them. Oh my God, I did Apple Tree and She Loves Me and a couple of others at Northwestern. Then I was at a place called Surflight Theater in Long Beach Island in New Jersey. 14 shows in 15 weeks, and 12 of them were 13 of them were musicals.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So, yeah. Oh, God. Yeah, I did Mame. I did Good News, Brigadoon, Fiddler. I did them all. I believe me, the number of musicals I've done. Now, everybody says, so you can sing. I am not a singer, but I'm someone who is loud,
Hmm.
and I certainly sing on key all the time. I can't harmonize. And to tell a Sondheim story, when we were doing the Zitz probe for Bounce, I happened to be in the men's room at the same time as Stephen. And, I said, thank you so much for not putting in any harmonies, except for the last note
Hmm.
of the show is a real harmony and I better hit it. But it was an easy note. So,
Hmm.
but I said, thank you so much for not putting in the harmonies. And he goes, yeah, I can't harmonize. I go, what? He goes, yeah, I can sing now well, but I can't harmonize.
Yeah, yeah.
I go, how is that? He couldn't, and I can't either. I can hold a tune, I can sing on key, even tough notes, but I can't harmonize. Even if I have the melody line, I can't harmonize.
You hit a few bumps, you make a few gaps, you learn how to bounce. You take a few lumps, you have a few laughs, and all the while you bounce. Don't dwell on the times that you fail. Remember the times when you sail. Find a new road, forge a new trail. Bounce.
I hope this doesn't come across as like damning with faint praise here, but at the same time, like I talk about this with other friends of mine. Obviously, Broadway is known. There's some phenomenal, great singers out there, but I also miss that there isn't a lot of like character voices anymore.
Well,
Like when you listen to those 40s and 50s, yeah,
I talked to him about that, and he said he'd much rather have a good actor
right.
than a good singer. And yet I was at a party, and I tell her this all the time. There's a wonderful, wonderful actress named Andrea Burns, wonderful actress, and a beautiful singer, beautiful voice. And I'm talking to Steve at Hal Prince's party. Believe me, I'm going to name drop because
Mm-hmm.
well, you can't help it when you're talking about this world. But I'm at Hal Prince's Christmas party, and he hears Andrea singing in the other room, and he goes, "Excuse me, I got to go hear this." And he rushed off to hear
Oh,
her.
that's amazing.
So he does appreciate a great voice, but somebody like Angela Lansbury, he'll prefer to anybody else. Now, can she sing? Of course she can, but she was not known as a singer, but started
Mhm.
a music hall and MGM musicals like Harvey Girls and stuff. But that's what he liked.
I mean, much has been written about the evolution of what would eventually become Bounce and then
Mhm.
ultimately Roadshow.
Mhm.
Whereabouts in the history of that do you come in? Like, did you hear that they were holding auditions? Did someone reach out to you? Like, where do you actually jump into the project?
Okay, here's my story for it. I didn't know anything about Wise Guys.
Hmm.
Then I heard that they were. This is a fun story. I heard, or they were having auditions for Bounce. Okay,
Yep.
I get submitted. Hal Prince's son-in-law is a guy named Sandy Chaplin. He's married to Hal's daughter,
Right.
Daisy. I knew Daisy. I certainly knew Sandy. I'd been to their wedding. So I knew them. Sandy was on Spin City with me. So Hal calls up my agent and says, his people say, Hal is very familiar with Richard Kind. He's not right for the role. So my manager then calls the casting people and says, look, of course you don't have to hire him, but it is his dream. And it really is my dream, like lying in bed, dreaming of being in a Sondheim Prince musical. Okay, that I grew up in the glory days of their
Of course.
musicals,
Yeah.
and they said don't hire him, but just give him a chance to go in. I did. I didn't know about this, but I go in and I sing. Okay, I sing "Look Over There" from La Cage aux Folles.
Hmm. Hmm.
Now, Sondheim famously hated Jerry Herman because of that acceptance
Tony
speech.
debacle. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's nice to have songs that we can hum and blah blah blah.
Hmm.
I didn't know about that. That's gossip. I was
Right.
doing TV, so I go and I sing that number, and then I do the scene, and Hal comes up to me, and he whispers some things to me about how to change the scene or anything, gives me direction, and I do it. And he says, "Thank you very much." The next day, go to name drop. I don't have the biggest names, but Hal Linden and I used to golf. I was doing a show called Tale of the Allergist's Wife. He was doing Cabaret, and we used to drive to golf course. And so we're driving to the golf course, and I get a phone call. Richard, Hal Prince on the line. Okay.
Okay. Put your golf club down. Yeah.
Well, I know we were driving, and I say hello, and he goes, "Rich, oh, we're gonna have a great time doing the show. You're gonna love it. You're gonna love working with me. It'll be great." And I'm like, he hasn't said I'm doing the show. He just sort of said, "Oh, we're gonna have a great time." And I don't know what it is, and he's talking to me for 5 minutes, but never says the part is yours. And I never heard from my manager. Nobody ever called me. I hang up and I turn to Hal and I go, I think I'm doing a Hal Prince Sondheim musical. And I started to cry. I just started to cry. It was, I used to joke, my dreams were to be in a Stanley Kubrick movie, a Woody Allen movie, and an original Sondheim Prince musical. And this one was going to come true.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's just crazy. And the way that I sing, I would never be in a Sondheim musical. Never.
Well, I mean, as you just illustrated, that's such a full circle moment of like going and seeing the original company, and now Hal Prince is talking to you on the phone, right?
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Yeah, I couldn't believe it. If you want to know, I remember on my birthday we were in New York, or around my birthday, and my parents took me to dinner and any show that I wanted to see, and Pacific Overtures was in previews.
Yeah.
And so we went to see Pacific Overtures. This is nuts. When I was like, okay, here's something. This is interesting because I'm not in the showbiz family at all. My dad had a store in Princeton, New Jersey. One of his customers was a very wealthy man named Stewart Duncan, who was the heir to the Lee and Perrins Worcestershire fortune.
Yeah.
So he was one of the original producers. It was his first show of Godspell. He was a producer, and he asked my dad, "Would you like to invest?" My dad, being a good friend, go, "Yeah, sure." What do you think the capitalization for Godspell was when it was first produced at the Cherry Lane Theater? What do you think it was?
Oh gosh, back then? Oh God, I don't even know what the number. I'll say 10 million, but I'm sure that's low.
$25,000.
Oh.
$25,000. My dad put in $1,000, which was a lot of money back then, and it was a hit. So all of a sudden, my dad's this, he invested in one or two others, but okay, lost 1,000, but the money he made from Godspell.
Right.
And so we used to go into New York to go see the play every once in a while. So we went in one time. I went to opening night of Godspell. So amazing. I went to Sardi's. John Michael Tebelak drove in our Ford Country Squire, with me in the back seat with John Michael Tebelak, who wrote the script. In Godspell, you go up at intermission and you go on stage and you have the fake wine and stuff like that. That's. And I look in the audience and I see Hal Prince. Now I'm a 15-year-old kid. What 15-year-old kid would know? From the suburbs of Pennsylvania would know Hal Prince. But I did. I go, Mom, there's Hal Prince. Little did I know, they were with Judy and Daisy and Charlie seeing Godspell, and they would all become friends. But I remember seeing them on stage.
That's so
looking
cool.
in the audience. Anyway, what were we talking about? I tend to go on tangents.
No, this is you weren't part of a showbiz family, so this whole reality of you being part of this show.
So
it is wonderful.
You don't suppose this really is heaven, do you? If guys like you get to go to heaven, Willie, who has to go to hell? Point taken. Although if this isn't heaven, then where the hell are we? Yeah. And where do we go next? No cause for concern. We'll get by. Live and learn. All right, then die. So what if we're dead? Gotta look ahead. How true, how true. The road may get rough. who knows in advance. Be ready to bounce. You needn't have brilliance, just resilience. You do it enough, you look for the chance. You see it and you pounce. When you're spent, reinvent. We've bucked a few trends, and with style, we made a few friends. For a while, from all we've been through, from dealing with you, I've learned how to... God damn it, Willie, will you put that crap away?
So I get the role, and that was probably in October. God, I guess we didn't start rehearsals till around February.
Wow. And was it always Howard McGillen, right? That was who you're...
It was always Howard. Yeah, I think. But Hal is sometimes Hal and Steve and Susan Stroman, although she wasn't involved, but they are loyal sometimes to a fault.
Okay.
Because sometimes, for instance, Hal loved Howard from Phantom.
Yeah, that's right.
And so he was perfect for the role. Tall, handsome, charming, with a voice that just melted. Every night I would hear him. I would stand across from him, and he sang this gorgeous, gorgeous song to his brothers. You know you loved me, or you know you always are. And it's before I sing, you get out. You've got to get out, or whatever it is. Get out of my life. But to hear him sing, and every night I'm like looking at him going, who am I looking at? This is crazy. I'm now going, I tend to say things that I will regret. And even before I say it, I know I will regret it. Jane Powell is magnificent. She's charming. She's cute. Her voice is lovely. She's a great actress. She's great. But if the microphone's here, right by your face, you don't have to sing loud. The microphone will pick it up. I hear Streisand is that way, believe it or not. They say that her voice is not as big as what you would think. Jane Powell was over 80 years old. Her voice was not strong. She's a diminutive woman who cannot project and doesn't have the energy to keep some of the scenes going. And look, when she was doing MGM movies, nobody better. When she was doing Irene on Broadway, nobody better. But this was 30 years later.
Right.
She was in her 80s, and the roles, the script was a little wordy and did not compel you to move forward. It's easy to point fingers. I think part of the reason that the show was not successful was because the show sort of came to a halt when Mama was on stage.
Interesting.
She just couldn't keep that energy, and especially the first act is all about movement through the world. These kids are going, boom, they're going to the Klondike, they're going to the horse races and boxing matches, and I'm going all over the world and blah, blah, blah. And then we would come back and it should sit, but it relaxed, it lay down.
There's so many people have written about their prognostication. I'm curious, I guess, you've already mentioned from your perspective maybe what was causing it not to fully work, but like what was your perception, I guess, of like audiences? Like, were they finally starting to enjoy it by the end of the run? Because some people said that it was starting to kind of coalesce by the end, but I don't know.
You mean if they were watching the end of the show?
Yeah.
Okay. If you want to, this is an example of what Steve could be like. John Weidman's a good friend, and we will go out to lunch together. And I said, John, I have a way, I think, of making bounce work. The first act, no scenery, just bentwood chairs, like Second City.
Right.
Just chairs. And supposedly it was said that Sondheim wanted to write a road movie, like a Crosby Hope movie. So it just bounces here and there, and it's funny, and it's this and that. It ain't. But it could be. I think what it needed, John is magnificent in his writing. He's magnificent.
I agree. I keep singing his praise. I think he's a phenomenal book writer.
He's phenomenal. And very funny. He's very witty, and his the lines of dialogue are so full of character and passion. But he ain't a great one-liner.
Gotcha.
And I think it would have needed what's called a show doctor, but it's not a show doctor. It's a punch-up writer. Because I've done so many sitcoms, you know that you're trying to tell a story, but in there, you need the joke. Okay. Now, Gary David Goldberg, who ran Spin City, said, and Bill Lawrence, who wrote Lasso, he would come up, he'd go, "Do you like that line? We can write another one." These guys, that's what they're so facile at. You need a joke? Let's come in with a joke. John is not a joke. He's very funny, and certainly as a man, and very much as a writer, he can write very funny. Look at Assassins. Some of it's hilarious. But a joke that just helps move a scene along is sometimes necessary to perk the audience up.
Yep. Yeah.
To make them listen. I think that's what it needed to sort of give it the Hope Crosby feeling. Bob Hope used to have that. He used to have writers on the side give him a line so that the scene wouldn't bog down in just story and character. Let's give him a joke. I think that's what it needed. 4 or 5 in the first act. I truly believe Merrily could use that too. Then, so the first act is Bentwood chairs. And John goes, "Yeah, I like that. That's great. That's great." The second act is a sumptuous musical. In fact, the first act, and he said that this might be a problem, have one of those showgirls with an easel that says, that tells you where you are, the Klondike, so just take them off and show where you are so that they're all chapters, because that's what youth is like. I don't know where I am in the world. I don't know what I do. I don't know where I belong. This is where I am, and this is where I'm going, and this is that. And you have that. Once you're in your 30s, you start to settle down. You don't stay as late at parties. You don't go out drinking as much, or you don't go to clubs. You settle down. So both guys sort of settled down, and that's where the big sumptuous sets of Palm Beach might be, or of a lifestyle. And that's what happened to Addison. Didn't necessarily happen to Willie, but the second act is all about wealth and settling down. So there's a real difference in the first act to the second act. So I'm at one of Hal's parties years later, and I say to Stephen, I said, I think that this was after a road show had been done at the Public, and I go, I think I have a way maybe to figure it out. And he goes, No, I think we did it right with Roadshow.
Right. Yeah. End of conversation.
Okay, Stephen, there's no talking to you. But I think that that Willie's wife was important. You are the best thing. You know the song?
Yeah, I love that song. Yeah.
That is a song that I think should be a standard. Tony Bennett, Barbra Streisand, "You Are the Best Thing That Ever." That is, the minute you hear that song, you know the tune. I think that's one of the songs that Sondheim said, "I'm going to write a melody that people can remember," and I think that's one of them. It now gets sung by the Addison to
his boyfriend,
to singer, to the boyfriend. I think it should be done from the husband to the wife during that thing, and should be reprised later on.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah.
Okay, I don't think it should be initiated, because Willie sings it as not as a pickup line, but an empty romance. Okay, Addison should sing it to his boyfriend as a true statement of, "This is who I love." And in the original it's sung, and then things go on, boxing matches go on, and go to the movie, so it's always interrupted.
Plus, that original version has the great punchline when she says "bullshit" the very first time. I always think that's a great little punchline. Yeah.
Yeah, right. So it's all about him romancing her.
Yeah.
But then it should be reprised.
I love that.
By Addison saying, "I have found love, and you are the best thing that's ever happened to me." Because I think it's such a beautiful song.
The time up in Nome, gold up to our ears. We lost every ounce. Come on, it was fun. At the point of a gun? Well, then we get home, and who disappears? I had to learn to bounce. But we were a team. No, you were a team. The horse that we doped. That you doped. Just trying to help further your career. Well, when you got finished helping, I didn't have a career. It's the thought that counts. No, you're right, and when you are right, you're right.
You know, I've planted my flag in saying, like, when you're looking at Bounce and Roadshow, I actually far prefer the opening to Bounce, like the opening song to Bounce. I just think it opens up that show great.
As opposed to what?
It's called Wait, I believe, is what it's called. In
Roadshow?
In Roadshow, I forget what it's called, but it's kind of a similar melody, but it's a very different thing.
Jonathan Schwartz, if you ever listened to him when he had his show before he was canceled, he would play it all the time. He loved Bounce. Bounce is a great number. It's great.
Yeah, it's great.
Sondheim, you know, it's funny. He second guesses himself a lot, especially in the last number when the stock market crashes. Mm-hmm. He'd always rewrite it. Let's do this. I've got to work with David Milch, who wrote on NYPD Blue and wrote
and Deadwood, right?
And Deadwood.
Yeah.
And he would come down to the set with rewrites of a scene. Were they great? Yeah, but so was what he wrote originally, initially. It's just a different option of greatness. Mm-hmm. That's what Steven did. Now, sometimes he was right, but he used to say famously to who wrote Gypsy?
Julie Stein. And then,
Julie Stein. Yeah. He used to say to Julie Stein would always say, no, I got another song. And Sondheim would say, no, this song is great. Let's just rework it. Let's rework the lyrics. Let's figure it out. And knowing Sondheim, he could take a Julie Stein song and move it, probably, especially in Rose's turn, to what was needed. But it didn't diminish what Julie Stein wrote. Sondheim would write these things and second guess himself. And we need to work on it. You don't need to work on it. Just twist it around. It's right. Yeah. And it was right. The stock market, the crash was superior. Mm-hmm. In every iteration, it was great.
Was there a favorite song that you got to sing each night for that show?
I'm on My Way is great. Of course, it's great. When I sang, my Rose's turn was Get Out of My Life.
Yeah, right.
And that's an actor's dream. You just pray that you serve that, get out of my life. But it's a tough one because the first part is get out of my life, however, whatever the escalation was. That was tough to hit. And then there's another part that that he gets to sing, and it's a bit atonal and in places, and that's. But so I took that atonal part and sort of made it pleading of like, you don't understand this. So like, get out. And it's like, just leave me alone. And to say that, like, just leave me alone in the song, I guess once you get it, it's all right. But for a singer of my talents, it was tough. But I hope I served it. Okay, here's a lovely story. Nathan Lane, who did it and who is superior in everything he touches, did Wise Guys.
That's right.
And he had a beautiful song that's on the album at the end because they knew how good it was. And it's called, what is it, Gift to Mama?
A
Little House for Mama.
A Little House for Mama, yeah.
And he had heard that it's not in there. And I go, I don't even know the song. He goes, oh, no. You got to get him to put it back in. You got to get him to put it back in. So I don't go to Steve. I go to John. I go, wow. I was talking to Nathan, and he said, how do you like singing Little House for Mama? And I said, we don't have it. And John just sort of bowed his head. He goes, yeah. They didn't want it. They wanted to get it out. It's a glorious song. Mm-hmm. And I got to sing it on the album. It should be in the show because it's who he was. It shows his humanity, his love for his mother, where Willie, they all loved their mother. They really were affected by the father, who is not seen, but has a great number. Yeah. Now there's a father who gets out of his deathbed and sings standing on top of the bed. And I hate numbers whether you stand on a bed or you want to stand on a table. People don't do that. But this was sort of a dream sequence. And I can't remember the actor who played it, but he's a great guy, great actor. got a weird name, and he would stand up and he just sang this great song, an American song,
Yep.
about go and find your dream and everything. It was great. And but Little House for Mama was where the show could settle down. It wasn't boom, boom, boom. I used to call it it could have been Sondheim, who thought of it as like pinball. Is they go here, they go there, or it could have been me. These guys were like pinball. Yeah. Okay. What else?
I think we have to wrap up here. But
now I can do this at another time if you want to continue.
Yeah, sure. That would be great if we could figure it.
I mean, because I tend to talk a lot, but I got to get out of here.
No, that's fair. I was just going to say 2 comments as we wrap this conversation up. Is one, of course, made me cry in Inside Out as Bing Bong. So I just wanted to be. But secondly, a movie I've learned to love is A Serious Man. I love that movie so much. So
it's you've named 2 things that I cannot begin to tell you how proud I am. Yes, and I'm glad you've seen Serious Man more than once.
I have,
because it's such a dense, wonderful movie.
I think it's one of those things you have to watch a second time to fully start to unpack it.
I agree. So. I call it a great date movie because you leave, you go out for a cup of coffee, and you talk about God and mortality and morality and what does it all mean, and you can find out a lot from how people interpret A Serious Man and whether or not you're compatible.
That's right.
So, all right.
All right. Well, we'll talk later. You have a great rest of your day.
Hold on. I can talk to you next week. On Monday, I go to Ireland to work. So if you want, we can Zoom call while I'm in Ireland. I'll probably have more time. I just did this because this is what was arranged. Yeah. I knew I would go talking longer than half an hour, but what am I going to do?
Holding the bag. Sort of like that time up in New York when you skipped town and left me for dead. New York. You want to talk about New York? You're stuck in a jam. Your brother says scram. You pack up and... Yes, indeed, scram. Isn't scram, sucker. I'm getting married. I'll get back to you. The brother you prize keeps telling you lies. You better goddamn well know how to goddamn... Oh, goddamn you. I mean, here we are, team or not. It's bizarre how far we've got. Together again, 2 old men settling our accounts.
Rights are right, and when you're right, which isn't too often.
The problem was